Welcome back, everybody, to Sweat and Iron. I'm Graham, your host, and in this episode, I am bringing to you the nice, sunny, humid as all get out peninsula known as Florida. More importantly, what I am bringing to you is a man who was introduced to me by a mutual friend, Matt Haft. This man's name is Jason, and we're going to talk about what he does for a living, what he enjoys doing, and why I'm bringing him on the show, because he's got a lot to talk about. So let me just give you a little bit of background. Jason is a personal trainer, master trainer in NASM, and him and Matt met through the master training and everything else, and I got to talking with Jason. It was quite interesting because I'm going to talk to him about, occasionally I'll reference backstories of, hey, you told me about this, you told me about that, da-da-da-da-da. Matt Haft messaged me one day, and he said, hey, I got a friend you could do an interview with. He's really interested. He saw me share the last interview I did with Matt. Matt shared it and reached out to some people. And this guy said, hey, I'd be up for an interview. I'd never met this guy before, never talked to him before. I got done with work, and as soon as I got home, I started texting this guy. And I got to tell you, I am a talker, and I can get along with just about anybody. But for once, I finally met somebody who is just like me and is open to conversation with somebody he's never met. Jason is a very nice guy, down to earth, is very open, and he is really good about feedback, and you'll find that he's very transparent as well. So we get into corrective exercises, we talk about posture, and we talk about, dare I say it, Jason, ergonomics. And there's going to be a reason why I said that just now. So without further ado, enjoy the show. Do you live down in Florida, Jason?
Yeah, I'm in Gainesville, Florida. Me and Wifey got here about 12 years ago. Before that, we traveled a whole bunch. We ended up from UCF. That's where we did our undergrads. Well, actually, I'm so sorry. Don't let her hear me say that. She did her undergrad at UF. So yeah, I did mine at UCF, and I know there's no competition there. And now, if I went to FSU, that'd be a different story. But
she went to University of Miami.
She went to UF, University of Florida. So
University. I thought you said UM. I'm sorry.
No. My dad is a big UM fan. My wife is a UF fan. I want to say that it's all pleasant around here during football season, but it's not.
I have a buddy who went to the University of South Florida.
Yeah.
So what is that in Tampa?
That's in Tampa, correct.
Yeah. So he's born and raised in Florida. So up here in Illinois, we've had some crazy hot, humid weather lately. Nothing out of the ordinary, really, but for some weird reason, everybody just has to say, "Oh my gosh, it's just so hot up here." It's the Midwest people. If you're not used to the really humid, weird weather that goes from like, oh, we're in the 70s to all of a sudden today we're at 104 with the heat index, you need to go someplace else. But he comes up here and everybody's complaining, and he goes, "Oh man, I feel right at home."
That sounds about right, dude.
My grandmother lives in Kissimmee, Florida, actually.
Yeah, Kissimmee. Yeah, if you can name all the weird names in Florida, you're doing pretty good. There's Alachua, there's Kissimmee, Econohatchee. I'll tell you something though, man. Tampa, USF, they have a really awesome, it's called Exergaming. It's an actual scientifically studied and researched exercise and video gaming department.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's so cool. They were the ones that started using, I forget what it's called. It's not the Wii Fit. It's that Do you remember that pad that you put on the ground that had the 9 numbers on it, like Dance Dance Revolution, that whole thing?
Yeah.
They were using that with the Wounded Warrior Project, and they were getting phenomenal results. And they've begun incorporating virtual reality with some of the PTSD soldiers coming back that have like lost limbs, like lost a leg, but they have taught them with soccer games how to utilize the prosthetic to kick a ball that's obviously not there, but it teaches them how to walk again, how to kick and move their body parts again with the prosthesis. Really cool stuff, all through video games.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I started looking into that for my master's degree, and I was like, oh my God, how do I get that job?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I've always been jealous of those people that go into they find a way to get into it and make a job out of going into the video game, major stuff.
I don't know what to make of the half of that. I mean, the stuff that they're doing doesn't look, I don't know, it's entertaining, I guess. But I have actually trained gamers in the last couple of years, by the way. This is very, very off topic from what we're going to talk about tonight. But I have started taking on clients that are specifically first-person shooter gaming because, Fortnite, Call of Duty, Black Ops, these games are a big deal. And these kids want to get better, and they want to play on teams. So I've started training them in teams. And what I found is that training them the same way you train like a basketball team or a volleyball team or a soccer team, the principles are the same. They really are. You're teaching them how to work together. You're teaching them discipline. You're teaching them strategy, pattern recognition. It's really funny how similar it is.
Wait, so you link up with these guys online and you just like drill them?
Yeah.
In the game? Oh,
that's it, man. We have, I'm going to do air quotes here. We have meetings, scheduled time appointments, and they collectively pay me through PayPal. And then from there, I go into a couple of games with them and I just watch what they're doing. So yeah, I'm playing too, but I'm actually playing behind them to see what their online behaviors are, because those are patterns that are recognizable to a good player and they could be exploited.
I could see that as being fun, but also kind of a little stressful at the same time, because you got to separate your brain from I'm having fun to I'm actually I'm working here. I've got to train these guys.
It's different. I enjoy it because I get to teach and educate. That's something I really like. And these kids, they get more enjoyment out of the game when they're doing well. And I think we both know that feeling. When you're winning, things are better.
So we are talking with Jason Daniel Lewis, who I got to say, Jason, the first time Matt told me your whole name, you've probably gotten this before, but Daniel Day Lewis.
Yeah, I've actually gotten that before.
I was just like, oh snap, wouldn't it be cool if he sounded like him? But obviously not, because I believe he's from the UK. But anyways, yeah, so Jason here has quite the background. Jason, you are NASM personal trainer, master trainer?
Correct.
And you've got a whole bunch of other stuff that you do.
Yeah.
So why don't you fill us in?
Let's go from the beginning on that one, huh? When I do seminars, I used to introduce myself as Jason, guy with a lot of letters behind his name, Lewis, just to break the ice. I have my master's degree in kinesiology. My undergrad is in sports and fitness. Now, I'm a NASM master trainer, corrective exercise specialist, performance enhancement specialist, behavioral change specialist, and I'm working on getting my certified nutrition coaching.
Oh, now that's quite the what would you call that? That's quite a plate there you got of stuff you can choose from,
Yeah, the goal is to help everybody with something, right? So
yeah, makes you the well-rounded person.
Yeah, they can come to the jack of all trades and the master of one. I mean, technically, I am a master trainer, so I can make that claim.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You and Matt Haft, the master trainers. Although there can't be more than one master. It's like Highlander. There can only be one, right?
Well, he stays way up north. I'm in Florida. We won't have a problem unless he comes down. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm going to play that for him and see. He'll probably giggle.
Oh, he'll love it. And I also sense some competition in my future. We'll see what happens there.
So now that we got your credentials, your letters, everything out of the way, what you're doing, what you want to do, where did you start? How did you get into the fitness industry? What got you going?
It's really funny that you ask that. The same thing that I'm doing with people right now for desk workers and desk jockey is the exact reason that I got into the major that I got into. So check it out. I was in college after doing firefighting, and I was always told, you got to go to college, got to go to college. So I did that, and I had no idea what to do. I tried physical education, and teaching, it seemed kind of cool, but it wasn't really speaking to me the same way that anything else was. Now, there was a professor there that was a corrective exercise specialist and a physical therapist.
Mhm.
And when I walked into his office, he was like, "Hey, you want to learn more about this sports and fitness thing?" "Yeah, sure. Why not, man?" And he just started ripping apart my posture. It was embarrassing and awesome at the same time, very humbling. And the way that he could go about doing it and the mechanics of the body, wow. I was like, I'm sold. Where do I sign up? I want to learn that cool stuff. And funnily enough, that's what I teach people now. I tear their posture apart and make them get better.
Yeah, it really does give you a different perspective of what you're doing during the day, doesn't it? When somebody tells you, "Hey, if you sat more upright and brought your shoulders back a little bit while you're sitting there, you'll feel a lot better."
The things that I tend to focus on with individuals that work at a desk, I know that the word ergonomics is popular within workplaces and organizations. The first thing I do when I get in there is tell them to throw that word out.
Really? Why? Because the thing is, whenever you go to well, like for where I work, they call it corporate health, but employee health, whatever you have for nurses who go around and tell everybody what to do and ask for your vaccination records, blah 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 blah. Whenever you complain, oh, my back hurts at my desk, my keyboard is not at the right height, and my mouse is really hurting my wrist, they immediately use the word ergonomics.
Yes, I think the proper word, and I did check on this, it's already trademarked. I'm going to buy this word when I get the chance. The proper word should be posturnomics.
Posturnomics.
Unfortunately, it's trademarked. I'm going to put a call into this person, see if I could buy it from them because the word is awesome. But the issue is that humans are not designed for sitting or staying still. Even if you have a standing desk, for example, but you're just standing still, you're
Hmm.
still not moving. We're designed for motion. We're designed to jump, to move, to crawl, to bend. Running, we are made for that. So when you tell somebody sit up straight and be ergonomically correct, you're still telling them to sit and not move. Even if it's in the correct position, that position becomes the incorrect position if you're left there for long enough. And most people leave themselves there for long enough. So I get them out of that habit. That's my goal.
Well, that's pretty interesting that you say that. I guess you're right. I mean, we weren't meant for sitting. We were meant to be hunters, gatherers, to be on the move, right?
We're designed for that type. And in the last 10,000 years or so, we have not actually evolved all that much past those roots. We are designed for climbing, for running specifically, actually. That's why we have a sweat mechanism. That's why we have an Achilles tendon, and that's why we have a butt.
Yeah, if my wife is listening to this, he did say butt. We're supposed to say bottom in our house. It's an ongoing joke because of the kids. But
If it makes you feel any better, my professors used to tell me that you have two bottoms, not one, because the glutes themselves have over 3,000 muscular fibers a piece. It's the biggest muscle in the whole body, designed for hip extension, moving you forward, jumping, power. So anytime somebody says nice bottom, you got to give them a big amen for that one. Yeah, thank you.
So, at where I work, and maybe other places too, one of the things that is the next thing, the next hot item in the workplace, there's a couple things actually, but the one that I want to talk about right now, since you talked about sitting, standing, and even though you're standing all day, you're not moving, is called the standing. What the heck is it called? It's the desk that is the multi-purpose desk that you can use it while sitting, and then you move it up, and your computer is upright, so you can stand.
Yeah, it's
And
a standing desk, a scalable desk.
yeah, and it's got those springs and everything on the, like you're dealing with a boom for a microphone. It's got those on each side, and it's very fascinating. A lot of people are using them now.
So those are okay. The attempt would be to solve a problem, right? If the problem is sitting, now you have the option to stand or sit. I do understand where they're coming from. My issue is that they're creating another problem, and that problem is inactivity. Standing alone doesn't give you real benefit if you're still standing still.
Yeah, you're not moving.
Exactly. And just remember, like we mentioned, 10,000 years ago is what we're designed up to do right now. Things haven't changed much until maybe 50 or 60 years ago when all this has started with, heck, let's go back to air conditioning, for example. That's a temperature controlled environment. You look up in the sky, you've got fake lighting, right? We're not designed to be in that type of environment long term. And then you're looking at a computer screen, which is also giving off dirty electricity and another type of fake light, right? So all of that is designed in such a way that it's not beneficial for humans long term. So whenever somebody says sitting versus standing, I'm like, go the heck outside for like 5 minutes.
I see. But with take for instance my job, I tend to be at my desk for maybe an hour, and then I wind up. Sometimes I'm putting in 12,000 steps at work, somewhere around there. I'm walking around the hospital all day. I got to go sit down for a little bit again. But then I got my days where I'm at meeting. Sometimes the meetings are in the same room, back to back, which really annoys the crap out of me. But the days where you got a meeting over here, but then you got a meeting on the other end of the hospital. So you're walking around all day long, but you are sitting, granted, for half an hour. What do you make of that?
Your warm-up routine in the morning for a day like that has to be specific to the actual day that you're going to have. I've had a lot of people with that type of issue where they are getting 5 miles a day, technically 10,000 steps is around 5 miles a day, but they're still sitting a lot during the day too. Between each meeting, there are specific things that you can do, stretches and flexes and things like that will counteract the act of sitting. For example, sitting, even if you're sitting up straight, is eventually going to round your shoulders, tighten up your hamstrings. Since you're not using your glutes, they're probably becoming weaker. So there's things you can do while you're sitting, if it doesn't wear it out your coworkers, that is. And there's things you can do in between those two things to really help negate or reverse some of the potential problems that come from sitting for too long. And then, what you just said to me makes me feel like risk of injury, because you're sitting for a long period of time, getting very cold. Then you suddenly have to hustle across, however many thousands of steps to get to the other side. And if you're not warmed up for that, that can eventually cause a problem, a strain.
The first thing that came to mind was you're talking about glutes. Are you saying that while you're sitting in a meeting, you just sit there and like clench your butt? Just start doing butt clenches? Okay.
Well, maybe if you raise your hand, you let them know what you're doing. No, don't do that.
Don't mind me. I'm just over here squeezing my glutes.
My trainer told me to do it. It's okay. What I recommend at meetings like that is squeezing the shoulder blades for 5-second holds while you breathe out. There's an exercise called the ab press where you can actually, it doesn't look like you're doing anything, but you press your hands and knees together at the same time, and it causes something of a traction for your belly button and your stomach. As you push your belly button inward by sucking it in, drawing it in, then you get an ab activation, right? Then you can work on moving your legs side to sides with resistance. For example, if you put your feet on the floor right now and tried to separate a piece of paper between your feet, nobody knows you're moving, but you're activating your glutes right now. And then you can change the angle that you do that, straighten out your legs every now and then, hold them for 5 seconds each. All that can be done without anyone really knowing that you're just trying to stay mobile.
Right. Yeah. All you got to do is just say, don't mind that piece of paper on the floor. Don't pick it up. It's mine.
Don't pick it up. That's mine.
Yeah.
I'm trying to rip it with my feet.
Don't worry about it. I'm paying attention to the meeting.
That's right.
Wow, that's interesting. So you've been so how long have you been doing this working with people who work at desks and whatnot?
So I actually started off training in a gym. I was the manager of a gym down in Orlando, and I ended up moving. Long story short, moved everywhere. That's when I got back into firefighting, didn't work, came back down to Florida, and I got into a job in therapy. And then for the last 5 years, I've been working in a corporate environment as a wellness director. Now, what I do most of the time is set up programming for the entire company. But within that program and within those guidelines, I still offer individualized assessments, consultations, anything that somebody might need if I have the spare time to do that in between programs. So been doing that for about 5 years now, and I can tell you what the energy levels are for people when they begin and when they've been doing the job for 3 months and they haven't moved around. It's it's a world apart, and it's so unfortunate to watch it happen. So we now have preventative measures in place at my current job that get people in the onboarding process more quickly so they can use the on-site gym more quickly. That way, those types of things don't happen.
On-site gym. Oh my gosh. You know what? I wish that my place had an on-site gym. If they could, if they had the space for it, I'm willing to bet they would build one. But I've always wanted to work in a place that had a gym. I see them. In a lot of places, a lot of corporate places. I don't know if you're familiar with Zurich, the company that sells those warranties for certified pre-owned vehicles and whatnot. But they've got this building off of 9290 over here in the Chicago area, and it's this huge. It looks like three Legos put together. It's very fascinating architecture.
Good reference.
Yeah, and on the bottom, it looks like three rectangles where two rectangles are on the left and the right, and one rectangle is turned opposite ways, so it's perpendicular to the other two. So they're kind of like goes straight this way, straight that way, and then there's this top one that kind of connects to it. It looks very weird. And then in the bottom section of the left rectangle side is this huge gym that you can see from the interstate. And every time I pass by it, because my in-laws live in the Chicago area, I'm always looking at it. I'm going, I wish I had that gym where
That's
I work.
Really cool.
But I mean, I'm going off on a tangent here, but we'll swing back to what you're talking about. But it's very fascinating to hear when people say, yeah, I've got a gym on site. But it's also sad when you see somebody and you're like, you got an on-site gym and you don't use it? Well,
Exactly.
why not?
Go use that gym. It's free.
Yeah. Or, in some places they might even give you like a discount, maybe like for instance, my hospital, they had a gym that was associated with our sister hospital. And when we merged together, the people at my facility got a discount to use their gym, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, you don't get a discount anymore. And I got to pay full membership and they take it out of your paycheck, blah, 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 blah. But I'm jealous of those people that get free admission into a gym.
That's unfortunate that they're charging you payroll deductions. But sometimes that happens if I don't want to talk any trash or anything, but there are short-sightednesses that happen when people set up gyms like that. And if they were not as heavily researched as maybe they should have been, then eventually it cost them to keep the gym and maintain it in a certain way. And then, they eventually charge you guys for that privilege. And that's unfortunate. My buddy John and I, we actually go to companies similar to what you're mentioning. There's hospitals in this area. There's insurance bureaus, just places like that. We've gone to them and we check out their site, their facilities. And just to get them started, what we do is not just consultations and talk, but we set them up with what's called biometric stations.
And how do these biometric stations work? Is it just
It's just a couple of things, dude. You have let's say a body fat scanner. You can put a piece of a tape measurer in there if you want, and you have an instructional list of how people can check their own body fat percentages. You have a blood pressure cuff. You have a weighted scale that they can stand on. Now, you and I know that some of these are not entirely accurate. BMI is not the most accurate thing, but the goal isn't to be as accurate as possible. In this particular case, the biometric station is designed for self-realization. You want people checking their numbers, and then when they realize, oh, my numbers are not where they should be, they will force themselves into more activity because it has to be done because, blood pressure is high. Oh my gosh, that shouldn't have happened. That kind of thing.
And then can they come back to that biometric station and get a recheck? So therefore, it's not so much that you're trying to use those numbers as you want your BMI to be here type thing. It's more along the lines of you're using that for measurements of accuracy to stay consistent.
That's correct. So with the corporations that we work with, they want two things. There's a whole plethora of wellness intelligences, I guess. There's the intellectual, there's the behavioral, the emotional. There are, the medical side of it. So the things that we look for, modifiable risk factors, sick leave, this all has a factor in the return on the investment, the ROI that companies are able to obtain from their employees. So if you have an employee that's underperforming and you hire somebody like myself or John, then we come into that and we take a look at what's going on with them on that physical level. That's the part that we cover, the nutritional level, the behavioral level, and we get an idea of what's going wrong. If they're not as engaged at work as they should be, what's going on at his desk? How much work has he had? Is he overworked? All those things can be tracked, measured, and improved upon. And a biometric station is the physical and the medical component of realization. So that's just one quick thing that we offer, and it's a really cheap, easy you could set that up for $100 and just give people cards or journals that they can track their progress with, and some informational pamphlets and stuff. Nothing hard about that.
Now, is this the business end you were telling me about that is going to go live soon, or is this the?
So this was something that I've been helping other trainers with. This is getting into corporate wellness and how they can define a niche. What we are doing right now is we're coming up with educational content and informational content. It's going to be more or less online content, digital content, education. So we're going to teach people what they can do to assess themselves. We're going to show them the 3 major postural distortions that occur from sitting at a desk all day. We're going to teach them how to overcome those obstacles. You don't want to work at a desk and then suddenly get home and you have a headache, or you have back pain or sciatica. Those are not things people want, but they do have to go to work. So what can they do to maintain a better posture or prevent and even reverse a bad postural condition like tech neck, for example, or the couch slouch?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you don't want those. Just from the sound of it. I mean, the couch slouch makes me think of I'm sitting on the couch leaning forward watching TV, not supporting.
And what are your hips doing? Right? So you're kind of slouched in on yourself. Your hips are rotated forward. Now, physiologists, we call that posterior pelvic tilt and hunchback or roundedly forward shoulders, right? Those things are postural things that can be corrected by a physiologist. So we were doing this so much and so often that we have all the information together for everyone we've worked with. We're like, we need to do something bigger than just working one person at a time. So we're going to create a teachable course where people can learn how to do it on their own in a practical way so they can fix themselves. And then we could just answer questions and maybe specialized programming every now and then.
Oh, now that's interesting. Now, I would also think that rather than doing one-on-one sessions, that this could actually be, I mean, granted, I'm just stepping right into it, but I would think that rather than doing one-on-one sessions and buying something like this would actually wind up being cheaper in the long run, 100%. Or maybe a better purchase rather than, doing the one-on-one for people who don't have a full understanding of what they're doing yet.
That's the goal, man. So we charge introductory rates. Right now, because this program is so new, we're accepting feedback. We're only charging $247. That is cheaper than my initial assessment that I go out to somebody's home, or if I go to somebody's office where I charge $500, because I am doing everything they need to set everything up so they are guaranteed successful for the next 6 months, and then I train them if they need it after that. This is everything that I offer. And then some, because we offer bonus material such as an ebook. We're also going to offer some other stuff like the obstacle course racing, just because that's super fun. And we've seen people have really good success for the weekend warrior stuff. And yeah, they can do it on their own. The fact is, if they're educated and they know what we offer and they understand what it is, yeah, they can absolutely do this without having to pay hundreds of dollars a week or a month for a trainer. They can do it on their own.
It's a one-time purchase type deal?
One-time purchase.
Ah, that's not bad.
So that's our that's actually how we came about with this, man. I mean, the website's going up tomorrow. It's called deskjockey.fitness, and I'm going to start adding in our content from there. My buddy John and I, he's an Olympic weightlifter. He's also a functional diagnostic nutritionist and a corrective exercise specialist. Paul Check level 1 certified. He's a pretty bad dude. We got together and we came to realize all the problems that we see track back to just a couple of different postural distortions. I don't know anybody that wants to go home and have trouble going to the bathroom, for example, because their low back is giving them so much pain. And there are ways to stop that, even reverse that from happening. So we have that basically created. We still have to do the videos for the programs that we came up with. And then, we're just going to take people through it, what to look for, what the conditions are, how to get past them, how to reverse them, all of that.
And so when's your projected go live date or time?
Weeks.
3 weeks.
3 to 4 weeks. We're going to do our launch. We have a launch sequence for all the products that we offer. So Once we get the, we're going to get the email addresses and stuff like that and start marketing to them. And then we have a countdown to the actual launch date. It's going to be a 4-week program. We offer it through webinars. And then we talk to people one-on-one, and they have full access to those webinars. And we answer questions from there, and they get all the material up front. So they know, oh, okay, this is exactly how Jason wants me to do a self-assessment for my neck. That's where I have my issues, or my low back, or my mid back, or my legs. And we talk them through all of that, show them what the assessments are, teach them what to look for, how to foam roll, all that stuff is in there.
All right. Yeah. So we're actually, we're coming in at towards the tail end of July right now. And this episode is going to be going up probably the week of, if I pull up my calendar here, the week of the 1st actually is when this episode is going to be popping up. So it'll be still about 3 to 4 weeks after I post the episode. Do you think?
It should be really close by then. If it's not up by then within a week or two after that, we'll be launched and it'll be official.
Awesome. So let's go back to, because I want to kind of go into that a little bit more, but let's go back to the corporate wellness stuff. How does a person such as yourself branch out from being personal trainer, master trainer, to doing what you're doing now? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you are basically the personal trainer for a business practically, in a certain way.
That is exactly what it is. So there are, I call them gatekeepers, right? And you need to have a key. So who do you have to talk to? And what kind of things do you have to say? What are they looking for, right? These are all questions, believe it or not, that are the easiest things to find answers to. The problem is, can you actually implement it? Can you back up what you're saying with real results? And how do you prove those results once you have them? That's the kind of stuff that I've seen more trainers fail with. Most of them could get in there for, let's say, a couple of weeks at a time. Like I've seen yoga instructors come and go, massage therapists come in, they do a couple of things, get paid out of pocket, they come and go. Why haven't they been able to prove that what they're doing is working to somebody that's like a CFO, for example? You know, the guy that has to do all with the finances and the money. If you can't prove to him that you're actually saving him money by them paying you, then he's probably not going to keep you around.
Yeah, they'll find a way to cut you to save them
because they don't know that you're working, right? They have no idea you haven't proved it.
They think it's money going out the window.
That's right. It's just another niche, and we don't want that. We want permanence. We want them to know, yeah, we're here to stay, and here's what I have to offer. Look at the benefits that your employees are getting from this one thing, or 10 things, whatever you're good at, you know?
I'm going to guess that the benefits would be longevity of employees being able to work a full day rather than calling in sick a lot, reduced turnover due to wear and tear and fatigue.
That's some of it, dude. I'm going to give you one word, and you're going to know exactly what I'm referring to once you hear it. Liability.
Okay.
Insurance and liability claims, dude. Those are the type of things that employers have to deal with. You know, short-term, long-term disability claim.
Work-related injuries.
Work-related injuries, correct. And you know, if people are more fit, they're less likely to get injured. Most of the time, they don't even complain if they slip and fall, let alone go to the hospital for it.
Mm-hmm.
What if somebody has a heart attack on campus? You know, those are things that, you know, it's good that they're in place to pay out if it's needed. You know, and most company heads that I know of, they're happy to pay those things out. But if they could avoid it, because it is a cost saving as well as a person life saving service, yeah, they want to offer that to their employees, man.
Yeah, because one of the common things that I will hear, I'm not a nurse, but I am around the nursing staff quite frequently. I have to work with them every day. I will hear the upper leadership of nursing say, we had another employee injury. This nurse, or maybe a PCT, either one, was reaching across the bed to pick something up, or was maybe they were moving a patient incorrectly. Something somewhere that they were doing, they do one movement and they hear a pop or something like that. And next thing you know, they've dislocated something, they've sprained something, and then they're on short-term disability, yada yada yada.
This is one of the things that I actually teach in the course. It's called ADLs, or Activities of Daily Living. It is so overlooked. I'm very, very surprised that it's not part of the ergonomics. I'm doing air quotes here with ergonomics manual. Um, these things are bodily habits that you don't know that you have, right? Let me ask you this, man. Have you ever saw somebody from a distance and you knew who it was without being able to see their face?
Usually it's by the way they walk or just the way that their body is,
Boom.
maybe.
From the way they walk. That is a pattern that they have that you immediately recognized. So that concept right there, that applies to everything. How you get out of bed, how you brush your teeth, which hand you eat with, how you drive your car. You name it, dude. Those are all ADLs, and they can be good or they can work against you if you leave them out of check for too long. When's the last time you really thought about how you did the dishes? Did you lean over the sink without opening the sink drawer up to stick your foot in there to get better balance? You probably put a lot of strain on your back for that 20 or 30 minutes. You didn't realize it. Did you sleep properly that night? Did you have a pillow underneath your knees if you're a back sleeper? What about between your knees on the side sleeping? Those things really add up to recovery, right? So if you're not recovering properly while you're supposed to be resting and recovering, when you go to work, you're just a time bomb, dude. A sprain is bound to happen.
How big of a pillow do I need?
Not that big. That if you put your legs underneath you, right, or you stand up straight and you talk about hip width apart, you should still be hip width apart if you're laying on your side. But if your knees are together, then one angle is longer than the other, and that's causing stress on your lower back and your SI joints. When you put a pillow between your knees, then your legs are lined up the way they should be with your feet and with your hips. So then you're in neutral, even when you're sleeping.
Oh, wow. My mind has just been blown.
Yay! I did a thing.
You did a thing. Yeah. I'm sitting here and I'm just like, my mouth just was open the whole time. I'm like, never thought of it that way before. Wow, that's interesting.
So
okay.
That's a very specific thing that we're going to teach in our course. And that has, as you know, nothing to do with the gym, but it adds up. And there are training methods that you can implement in your day to incorporate the other side of your brain and the other side of your body. So are you left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed, but my wife, on the other hand, she could do both.
Yeah, my wife can too, man. What is that?
I don't know. It must be a woman thing, maybe, or maybe they're just, you know what? Wait a minute. Now, is your wife like a super genius when it comes to certain things? Like she's 10 steps ahead of you?
My wife is super genius when it comes to almost everything. The only way I can describe my wife's way of thinking is if I were to look at something like a vase, I would see a vase. Whereas she sees the vase and how it was made, the diameter and the circumference of it, the materials that it was made out of, what could possibly go in there. And I'm just like, all right, I'm leaving the room. You do your thing.
Yeah, that's my wife. My wife will take a look at curtains and see everything she could do with them. I take a look at curtains and just wonder what color looks like better.
Yeah, that's a brown curtain. I like that. Okay, next.
Yeah. No, but yeah, so I'm right-handed. She's ambidextrous. And I don't know about my kids. I think both my kids are right-handed, but I think they're trying to do both.
So a little thing that you can do. Start brushing your teeth with your left hand. And I know it doesn't sound like much. You're going to be surprised at how hard it is the first couple of times you try it. Within a couple of weeks or so, it gets better. And it's a mild little thing, but the dexterity from one hand to the other, the dominant hand versus the non-dominant hand, it shows what side of the brain that you use more of. And this is one of the ways that you can utilize the other side of your brain. Neurons will fire. You will actually learn better that day because of that initial challenge. Your brain has now been fired on the opposite spectrum. So using your left hand to eat, things that are non-dangerous, like not driving your car, for example, but, brushing your teeth, eating your food, little things like that to help activate the opposite. And you can even start standing on your left or your right leg as you do your left hand to brush your teeth. Little things. It sounds funny, but it really does add up.
Yeah, so don't do brain surgery with your left hand if you're right-handed, but you could maybe try working on tying your shoes, leading with your left hand rather than your right.
Correct. My dad always used to tell me when I was playing baseball or volleyball, however many throws I did with my good hand, I should do double that with my bad hand because otherwise you create compensations and you could get injured. And that was way back when. I never realized that some of his coaching methods were like ahead of their time, by the way. But I did that with soccer with my left foot and my right foot. So I ended up being good with both. I just still prefer my right side.
So there are studies that back this. I mean, how did you come to know this? Or how did you come to realize these findings?
There are studies. This one specifically about the brushing of the teeth came from a physical therapist that is her husband is the medical director. She's the head physical therapist at the clinic that I used to work for. And she was raving about it because it was in some seminar that she had gone to about little things you can help your clients do that have, this one, they mentioned polio. They mentioned rehab for surgery and stuff like that. So if you had a rotator cuff surgery on your right arm, they give you specific exercises with your right arm, but working out the other arm has an effect on that right arm still. It's like a 10% to 15% effect. So there is some muscular transfer, and utilizing, that left hand when you do toothbrush or anything like that, it actually helps with a pre-recovery of the other arm if one side gets injured. So that's where it came from.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I've never thought about it that way. And so, because I want to be smarter now in the day. I mean, I want to start the day and just be like, all right, I got this. I got a better, you want those, whatchamacallit, you want your brain to fire that much better, I mean,
Yes.
rather than because I hate the days when I wake up and I'm still in a haze, like I never woke up. And if that brings me more mental clarity, I'm going to get right on top of it.
It might actually bring you frustration.
In the beginning.
You know this, in the beginning, that when something is harder at first, there's always a good payoff later. So, you didn't end up doing 100 push-ups, for example, right away. Maybe you started with 10 or 20, and then, you struggled to get to a certain amount. So same principle, just on a smaller scale.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I was just I started listening to on Spotify. It gets a little old after a while, but there's this one track that I found. It randomly came on, and oh man, let me find it here real quick. It's called trying to remember the artist. Oh, here. It's called When You Feel Like Quitting. And the artist is called, didn't mean to play it. It's called Fearless Motivation. And the whole song it's like rap, hip hop music combined with orchestra and everything else. And then it's just these different artists. I mean, you can recognize some of the voices. It's hip hop artists, it's celebrities, and they just come through and they say, when you feel like quitting, and then they got other people to come in and they say, you got to push through the pain and stick it out and you're going to get your reward in the end. It's just, I don't know. If you find this song, if you find this song on there on Spotify, I guarantee you, if you're in the middle of doing like bicep curls, squats, you name it, it just really gets you invigorated, man.
Nice. So when the body has that response, we always plateau if we work out for hard enough or for long enough, but consistency is king with most things. Now, I'm not a believer that you should give 100% every time you go to the gym. I don't think that's feasible or even possible. I think you should give 100% maybe once or twice a month. Now, let me explain that. Most training, and you know this if you've ever done a sport, operates within about a 70 to 80%. And you're working mostly on skills. You're working a lot more on the habits, on the teamwork, on developing new skills, things of that nature. And that doesn't always require you to sprint the entire time or to do max push-ups the entire time. But if you are going to progress a certain skill, then you need to progress that with intensity. But if the technique and the habit and the training is not behind it, you're probably going to get very frustrated and fail. So most of that, what you mentioned, is correct, that when you feel like giving up, you're probably about to have a breakthrough and everything's going to get a lot easier. Your body is a mechanism of path of least resistance adaptation, right? So it wants to go back to these old habits. It wants to stay sitting all day, for example, because that's easier. You've got to fight that. You have to stop that from happening, and you have to actually get your body to be uncomfortable in a sitting position, and then you'll find real success.
But then the artist says, push through the pain. Now, here's here's my problem with people saying push through the pain. It depends on the pain, doesn't it,
Yeah.
Jason? I mean,
I don't agree with push through the pain. That's how people get injured, and that's when things happen that they have to go to rehab or get surgery. I think that expression is really outdated as well. That's a very old way of thinking. If you have muscular, you're fatigued, you can probably push a little more. But even then, that shouldn't be more than once or twice a month. You're going to burn out. How are you supposed to recover if you're doing that every single time you exercise, man?
right. Yeah. The training that I do, Gary and Patrick from Affinity Athletics designed the program builder so that you're not always doing max reps. You're not always doing that 100%. You're doing everything up to like an eight, your 8 rep max. Like within 8 reps, all of a sudden you're like, okay, that's good. That's good. I'm feeling real good there. That's, I'm not going to finish, I'm not going to be annihilating myself after. If I get to 8 reps, I'm still feeling good. I could still put in 3 or 4 sets with that 8.
Okay. I tend to I tend to follow the beginning for volume training whenever I start a new program. And what you're mentioning sounds very, very similar, but I focus on time under tension more than I focus on intensity. So if I'm just doing a body weight squat, I might go in the down phase or the decelerated phase for 5, 6, even up to 8 seconds. And then on the way up, I'll go up for, let's say, 2 seconds, something quick. The concentric side of it, you can always do that one a little faster. But going down with slow and controlled good form, you're adding a lot of tension over time. So then
I've been mixing that up too.
Yeah.
I've just started doing that. Matt Haft got me to do that when he was my trainer. And I got to tell you, Jason, when he first started doing that with me, I didn't understand what the hell he was doing. I thought he was just trying to piss me off because I'm standing there and he's like, all right, we're going to take these, let's say, for instance, he had me dealing with 20-pound dumbbells or maybe 15-pound dumbbells. And he's like, okay, I want you to do some bicep curls, but on your way up, I want you to do it within take 2 seconds to go up, but on your way down, I want you to count to 5 or something like that.
Yep. That's actually Nazem's method for doing beginner training, by the way. That's how you get everyone initiated into muscular activation. The goal is quality and control, right? Now, if you're moving too quickly, you might not know if you have good control or good quality or good form. So if you're doing it slowly or more slowly, then you get a lot of time under tension from the muscle, which is going to give you growth one way or the other, right? So instead of, let's say, 15 reps, you might have done it for 3 minutes. And you didn't realize how long you kept tension on the muscle for. So you're going to get fatigued even with a light weight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super effective.
So then rather than counting your reps, because most guys for hypertrophy, there's different ways of doing hypertrophy, right? I mean, it's just muscle growth. So some people will do hypertrophy for, say, they're doing the standard 3 to 4 reps. 3 to 4 sets, but then they'll do, this time they're doing, they'll start out at like maybe 10 reps, then the next set will be 12 reps, then the next set will be 15. In regards to what you're talking about, you're saying that how many reps are you doing? Are you aiming for reps? Or are you mainly just counting the seconds for your up, down,
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. If you're going for hypertrophy, then you're going for a type of overload, right? So you might be doing, let's say, 5, 6, or 7. If you can do 6, then you should try to do 7 as long as you can do it with good form. And that's how you get muscular growth. In the beginning stages of training, your goal is more stabilization, endurance, get used to this new habit, this new skill. Take something like a deadlift, right? Incredibly complicated if you don't know what you're doing. So if you just went for muscle growth or hypertrophy on the deadlift and you don't know how to do it with a good form using light weight, you're going to create some problems later down the road. You might have a really good bench press or deadlift right out of the gate. Imagine how good it could have been if you were one of those people that actually took the time to learn the form correctly with light weight and progressively overloaded to a really, really good set.
Yeah, and in the beginning, taking the time, slowed down, engaged those muscles correctly, gotten used to using those muscles over an extended period of time, rather than just doing the herky-jerky motion of, I lifted big weight. Lightweight, baby.
Yep. So check this out, man. This has stuck with me ever since I heard it. It takes about 600 to 800 repetitions to learn something new. It takes around 3,000 to 4,000 to correct a bad habit. So just do it right the first time. Okay, don't go heavy out of the gate because you're probably just solidifying a dysfunction. That's not going to help you.
That makes a lot of sense because muscle memory, just the habit of doing it, you just get stuck in the way of doing something, and then you got to reprogram yourself, and it's so easy to slip back into, oh, I'm doing it right. No, you're not doing it right anymore.
That's right, man. And that is bound to happen if you didn't take the time to learn the motion properly. That is one of the bigger problems I see with people that sit all day, by the way. They're training that position. That's what they're doing, man. They're actually actively training. Hamstrings being tight, hip flexors being tight, and then they go do a heavy deadlift. I'm like, oh, God, you weren't ready for that.
Oh. So let's go back to working with people desks, because this is a fascinating concept, and I really wish that more and more businesses utilized such a business.
We are going to market to some of the employers, the corporates and the heads, and a lot of it's going to be, they can give it to each individualized employee. Obviously, we don't want them mimicking our work or anything like that without our consent, but if they were to pay for half of the course and the employees got the other half of it, then we can always keep them accountable to make sure they actually did the course. There are things you can take into work with you in a backpack. For example, a tennis ball, 16-inch foam roller, and a towel. You can take a towel and use that for both resistance as well as active stretching. And the thing that we add that's unique is we do use the corrective exercise continuum for the three major dysfunctions. So let's take tech neck, for example. That's a big name right now. Everybody knows what that is. Your head hurts, your neck hurts because you're looking down at your phone or you're at your computer screen all day. What muscles are tight because of that? So the muscles in the front of the neck, they're called the sternocleidomastoid. The muscles in the upper trap area, your levator scap, those muscles that have to do with your shoulders going up and your head going forward, they need to be stretched. But before that, you need to foam roll them. You need to get like a Theracane or a tennis ball, anything that you can get to help alleviate the tightness of those muscles because they're too active. And the nerves will continue to kick in if you just stretch. It won't do as much as you need unless you shut those off and reprogram them. So after that, then you stretch, and then you do an exercise known as the chin tuck. Now, the last part of the equation, and this is where all the big names seem to miss it, it's called integration. You need to activate your body as a whole with the thing that is inherently weak. So if it's your neck, how do you activate your neck with your legs? We have people do a front plank, right, for stabilization with very, very specific belly button being tucked in. Your glutes are squeezed. You get a towel on your neck. You chin tuck into the towel, and that's your resistance on your neck. And then you're using your spine and hips as a whole. After you did all the other things, the foam rolling, the stretching, and the strengthening specific to what your condition is, and then you add that integration, and then your body's nervous system, your motor control, kicks into high gear and memorizes this new pattern more effectively. Those are the things that we teach in our course.
Does it matter how thick the towel is? And I probably sound stupid asking that, but when you say you're just basically holding on to the towel by
so you put the towel
tuck
around the back of your head. And on a front plank, when your hands are on the floor,
Yep.
You're pulling the towel in your hands and holding that right there while you're then pushing the back of your head through a chin tuck into the towel. And that's going to activate the muscular structure of your neck while you're doing something like a plank, which is going to activate your core and your hips together.
I got it. That makes perfect sense now. I just had to try. I had to imagine I was doing it.
If I didn't give you good enough representation or feedback of it, then I'm glad you asked so I could retry, so I can explain it a little bit better or differently.
So right now you're doing all this in person.
We do a lot of this in person, yes. We want to offer it online so we can reach more people. If you want to solve a problem in the world, one person at a time is good. If I can get 20 at a time, even better. And that's the goal, man. We want to help people get through these pains and strains.
So how does it work for the in-person How much time does it take? Does it take, is it a one-time deal? You show up, do all the stuff, or is this you hang out with the person? Tell me about it.
So if we're there's two ways that we've been doing it. One of them is we talk to the people on the phone and we do FaceTime chat. I book appointments on my Facebook page, Health Online. I think it's called Healthy Trainer Online or something like that. I'm sorry, dude. I'll have to link that to you later because I don't remember offhand.
That's fine.
But it's a business page and you can book an appointment. They're half-hour sessions. And I talk with them and I get an idea of what their posture is. I tell them exactly what I need them to do. Matt and I both use the overhead squat assessment. I tend to break that down into specific components. So I'll have them move their arms first, sometimes one at a time. I'll have them move their neck back and forth just to see what the mobility looks like, certain ranges with their shoulders. And I'll give them an idea of what probably needs to be corrected first. And I'll create a program around that. Now, the programs that we create, they're PDF style, and we link a YouTube video to each exercise that we offer in there. So it's like a 1-minute video. So if I said, okay, I need you to foam roll your neck, and you don't remember what the heck that is, the PDF that you pull up on your phone, you can click foam rolling neck, and you'll see me or John doing it. So you get a reminder of, oh, that's what he said. That's right. And it's a quick video with a few modifications.
Oh, it's perfect for people like me because most of the time I'm signing up for stuff and I'm going, yeah, I'll do that program. And then they tell me the exercise. I have no idea what they're talking about. I need the freaking link, man. Show me a video.
Exactly. It's a lot of us are visual learners, but more often than not, we're kinesthetic. We're kinetic. We learn by doing and by making mistakes. We learn through simulation. I follow the cone of learning. That's one of those principles out there that basically says that humans learn 90% of the time through simulation. So I want you to make the mistake with conservativeness so that we can correct it and you know what it should feel like. So I do a lot of that with the online coaching, but then we also go, if the company wants to hire us on, right, for like some part-time work or come run a seminar or a lunch and learn, we'll go do that. And we'll teach these same methods to people right there in person. And then, if they want to work with us after that or come to our teachable course or another seminar, they're welcome to.
So you say you want them to make the mistake. Is that more like, so where are you starting to feel it? And they'll point to an area and you're like, yeah, that means you're doing it wrong.
No, I want them to try, and I want them to get out of their own head that it has to be perfect right out of the gate.
I see.
I think we all have that problem. The best way to learn how to do a push-up is to go do a push-up. Now, you could read about it. You can look up the theory of a push-up. But until you actually try to get down there and do it, you don't know what's going to happen. So let's just go ahead and break the ice. Let's get down on the floor and let's do a push-up. Let's see what you got. And then from there, we change it, we correct it, we modify so they can do it effectively with good form.
And that goes back to what you're saying about you just tear apart somebody's understanding of what they're doing with everything they're doing, which, quite honestly,
I'm a little nicer about it nowadays.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'd rather have somebody be upfront about if I'm paying somebody to tell me what I'm doing wrong, I want them to tell me what I'm doing wrong. I don't want somebody to be like, well, I give you an A for effort there, but, maybe what you might want to do. No, I don't want to hear somebody say that. I don't want to hear somebody say, okay, you're doing this, but you need to be doing this, and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah. I think linking those two together is key. Transparency is something John and I believe in. If you ever have any questions about how we're running things, I like that feedback. However critical it is, I thrive on that. I want to know, hey, man, if I came off sounding like a jerk, okay, maybe I am a jerk. I don't know. You tell me so I can see where I went wrong for you, because let's face it, man, not everyone's going to like me. Not everyone's going to choose my program over somebody else that maybe has more established results or something like that. I'm still kind of breaking into this, but that's okay with me, man. Until I can win your trust, until I can prove to you that my transparency is in both of our best interest, okay, I'll earn it. As much as I need to do to earn it, I will earn it eventually.
Yeah, I think, with my trainer, Matt, the one thing that he just, I don't know. I was talking with his wife, Carmela, at their wedding about it, and I said, I don't know what it is about that man, but I am just drawn to him. And my wife was standing right next to me, and she goes, "You're gay for him, aren't you?" And I said, "Not for any man, but for him, I might be." And she said,
"It's good to be open-minded."
Yeah, she said. So his wife, Carmela, goes, I don't know what it is about her. There's something about him that just draws people to him. And I'm just like, I don't know. It's the smile. It's the personality. The fact that he's just transparent. And he's not an ass. I mean, even though sometimes when he was training me, I felt like he was taking his aggression on me because we'd be in the middle of talking, and I'd do a snide joke towards him, and then I'd be like, oh God, he's training me. That means, oh boy, I shouldn't have done that.
Well, there's a key word that I've noticed. When we start creating our circles of friends, you could talk about trusting one person or another, but the key word is authenticity. Matt is one of those people that genuinely wants to help you, and you recognize that for what it is. He doesn't hide things from you, man. He's not trying to nickel and dime you in some kind of way that's manipulative. He's here for you, and he wants to help you, man. That's very authentic of him. So we need more of that in the world.
Now, you were telling me when we were chit-chatting offline, you were telling me that you did OCRs and you help people train for OCRs, right?
Yes.
How long have you been doing that?
That's
Just
kind
as
of a
long?
new endeavor. That's about maybe 2 years old now. I did a few of them in college when they were just starting to come out. Like back then, there was the Warrior Dash, and the big thing about the Warrior Dash was, oh, you're gonna jump over a fire pit, woohoo! And now they practically just throw you in a fire pit, and they're like, find your way out.
I've only done the Savage Race. I think I told you I've only done the Savage Race, but I think I did the Savage Race just because I felt like it was a nice way to get my feet wet,
Yeah, of course. What did you like it?
I enjoyed it very much. I felt like I could have trained. I don't know how to say this. I sort of know how to train a little bit better for one of those. It's different, It's like you get used to, how do I say this? So you go to the gym and you do just regular training. You're doing bicep curls, you do leg day, you got upper body day, you got leg day, you got pull day, you got push day, you got this, whatever your workout is. And then you go do one of these OCRs, obstacle course races, where in my case, you had a choice between, I think it was 3 mile and 6.5 mile obstacle course where you're running and you run for like maybe half mile, maybe a mile, and then you come across this obstacle, whether it's a wall that you got to climb over, or you've got my favorite one on that course that I did was the spinning. They reminded me of the giant wheels that you had to turn for a water line, and so they got them hung at different angles so that your body is giving you momentum so that it spins, and you have to grab it at the next one at the right time. Otherwise, you're left dangling there facing the wrong way, and you're like, well. And meanwhile, underneath you is like 6 feet of water, 7 feet of water.
That sounds like fun.
Oh, it's fun. But so you it's not just one or two. You have to go through, and I think there's like maybe 6. I made it to the very end, but I couldn't get on the friggin' platform because by that they put that one at the very end of the obstacle course race, and I was like, damn it, my body was too fatigued. But my point being, Jason, I sometimes go off on these tangents and talk a lot, but if you haven't figured that out by now, but
that's awesome though, man.
The thing is though, my learning experience from that is, you can't just go to the gym and have regular training sessions to do an OCR. You really have to do a combination of endurance sessions where you're just blasting yourself for fast-paced stuff. And then I think a lot of it is just core and upper body.
So the way that I've been training people for OCRs that work at desks, there's 2 main objectives, man. Are you trying to compete or just complete? Completion of a race is very different than actually competing. If you're competing, we have to do a plethora of tests. We have to see how many pull-ups you can do, how well that translates to a monkey bar, because just doing a pull-up is not the same as moving your body forward through monkey bars. Mm-hmm. Can you climb a rope effectively? What about, can you climb, and this is something I had to learn the hard way, can you climb a rope when it's wet and muddy? What's your form look like then?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, man. Because I was like gung-ho manhandling that rope with just my hands. I got all the way up there and I kept slipping and I didn't know how to use my feet. I was like, well, this is different.
Yeah, because your shirt's wet. You're wet. Your socks are wet. Your shoes are wet. And and that rope, and by the time you get to whatever you're at on that course, there's already been like 50, 100 people go through who are just as wet and muddy as you are.
Yeah. The things that are unique to Savage Race, there's a lot more, I think, dunking in the water, and, some of their monkey bar rigs are really cool. The Spartan race is one of the only races that tries to wear you down mentally because they actively punish you for failing something. So if you missed your rope climb, you have to do 30 burpees to move on.
Oh.
Yeah, buddy. So, the thing I'd start talking about with people with OCRs is how well does it transfer? How well does your pull-ups or your push-ups, how does that transfer to you doing a crawl or a monkey bar or a rope climb? If you don't have the bodily coordination, there are ways to train that. You can become accustomed, and I'll tell you something, man. John, my buddy, I've never seen anyone get up a rope the way he does. I mean, he uses almost no effort to get up. It's really funny. It's all legs. He jumps up the rope and he grabs it. Then he brings his feet up like he's doing an ab tuck as high as he can, and he grabs the rope with his feet and locks it down, and then he just stands up. It takes him 2 of those to get all the way to the top of a Spartan rig. I'm like, oh my God, that's cool. How can I do that? Because I was doing the inchworm method where I'm like inching my way up, think, 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 think.
Yeah.
And I thought that was awesome. But then I saw him do that. I was like, you're going to teach me that tomorrow, dude.
Yeah, I want to sign up for that class. I'll sign up for that class.
Yeah, it was really cool. The way we start people off with that is we get them doing inverted rows with TRX bands, and we transfer that to a rope, where we have them grab on the rope and just do pulls to their chest so they can get used to what it is to be off balance with the rope that swings back and forth on its own. So, yeah, all these transferable methods so they can get in there and actually enjoy themselves.
Inverted rows with TRX bands.
So a TRX band is a suspension strap that you can hook up to like a tree or side of your house or a door if you got the anchor for it.
They're yellow and black usually.
Yeah, they're 2 handles, and an inverted row is when you angle your body at about 45 degrees and you pull until the handles hit just underneath your ribs. You squeeze your shoulder blades together. The goal is to use that pulling motion to transfer that to something of a pull-up one day, because it's the same type of motion, just less resistance on the inverted row.
Okay. Fascinating. I'm going to give that a go, actually, because if there's one thing that I've been wanting to work on, it's my pull-ups. My pull-ups suck. I just cannot do more than, I'm lucky if I can get 2 in, and that's if I'm doing them properly.
Okay. There's some work to be done there. You know what? Actually, check this out, man. Something we talked about earlier. Do decelerated pull-ups. So go up as hard as you can. If you have to jump up to the top where your chin is over the bar, do that, and then let yourself down slowly for 8 seconds. Do that for maybe a couple of weeks, like twice a week, and then try to max out your pull-ups on week 3 to see if you can do more than 2, maybe up to 5. And that's just tension over time, right? And then you've gotten better at that particular motion.
Okay, I see. Now, would you do that at the beginning of your workout rather than in the middle, or where would you place that in your, say you did a repertoire of upper body and you wanted to put that on that day, would you put that more towards the beginning?
So if it's more stressful for you, then while you have the energy to do it well, you want to do it in the beginning. If you can only do 2, that counts as maximal effort. So I would say, warm up, strength train a little bit to get your muscles going, do some corrective exercising. And then once you feel comfortable, go to it. Once your blood flow is really going, though. Don't do something like that cold. You're going to strain and cause a problem.
Yep. I hear you. Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I want to climb a rope like that. That's all I have to say. I think I've seen that a couple times, maybe on Instagram, Facebook, what have you. You watch those fitness videos and people doing cool stuff, and it's really cool to see somebody climb a rope in like 2 or 3 seconds. Like, boom. It's like, what, how did you do that? And they just look at you and go, I don't know. It's just.
I've got to put it up, man. I have a GoPro video of me and John were doing a race with a few people. And I put the GoPro video up to do the selfie angle. And John was like, okay, I'm going to do the rope. And I started talking to my buddy Ben. I was like, hey, man, how you liking the race so far? And before he could answer, John came down and goes, I'm done. It's like, what? No.
No, you are not.
The video later. I was like, no way, you're lying. He goes, no, I'm done. You want me to do it again? I was like, no, don't show off. Okay.
Yeah, I did not do it to compete, obviously, because it was my first time. I did it just to say, you know what, I did one and I finished the whole friggin' thing. But those competitions, those people are insane, man. When they're competing.
I've met a few of them that are the competitors of the group, and the ones that I met, I don't know if they're all like this. I think some people do have just a natural talent for that. But the ones that I met on the ultra race that I did, which an ultra race is 30 miles, about 60 or so obstacle. We did this through the mountains in South Carolina. It was 28 degrees in the morning. The first obstacle we went through was water. It sucked.
Is that the one where they had to dunk you under did you have to go underneath something?
Yeah, that was the first obstacle, man.
That was my first obstacle at Savage Race. We had to go underneath this giant beam that there you couldn't just go underneath the beam. You had to go under the water, which was they dumped bags of ice into.
Yeah, that's right, man. And this was 28 degrees that morning. So that was a little rougher than a Florida boy is used to, you know. But we handled it, man. We dressed appropriately. We trained the right ways. And, you know, we had trained on a wet rope before because that's what we're used to, wet, slimy rope. An icy rope is a different animal. So we had a learning experience this day. We made it up, but I couldn't use gloves.
That's right. The rope was probably frozen from the temperature, right? Everybody touching it, having wet feet, muddy feet.
Yes. And it was 6:30 in the morning when we started that race. We got done 9 hours later. The guys that were doing the 30 miles competitively were getting done at about the 7-hour mark, 2 hours ahead of us, and we didn't stop running the whole time.
You didn't stop running the whole time? Oh, wow, I'm just like baffled. So in my 6.5 mile one, they had a water station at maybe, I want to say every third obstacle, maybe every other.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Now that's the race. They provide that because you technically paid for that. So, for the ultra, you have to get set up with, oh my gosh, dude. We were set up with a halfway point where the night before, the first picture that I sent you of me and that guy with the beard, that was us dropping off our cooler with all the stuff that we had for the race. We had peanut butter, jelly, pickle sandwiches. We had a bunch of recovery bars. We had pickle juice. Mustard has high sodium, so you can put that on like a Cliff Bar and eat it, and it'll help you from getting cramps. Really funny that mustard packets are so popular on a big race.
But yeah, I didn't think about that. Oh my gosh, and the pickles, yeah, that would increase your sodium too, right?
Oh, it's so good, man. I mean, I don't really care for pickles, but when I'm that dehydrated, pickles taste amazing.
Yeah, so, yeah. After you do that much, it reminds me of when I went hiking up in the boundary waters up in the Canadian Minnesota border.
Yeah.
You go canoeing and you hike, and we did it for a week, and we were on MRE food, just add water type crap, and you come back, it doesn't matter what they serve you. You're just like, give me some freaking food. I need something in me right now.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, you get to that point where even after you've carb loaded for 3 or 4 days, about 6 hours into a race, you're like, yep, that tree's looking pretty good. I think I can eat that.
That bark is rather.
So, we made a lot of jokes because we got so delirious that there was a lot of people that were trying to run with us because we were making jokes, and I Pavloved myself to laugh when I'm in pain. So when we're on the trail and I'm basically in pain, I'll start making jokes and laughing a whole bunch, and that really helps out the people around you. And somehow on the race, we ended up being known as the goo guys because we had the gel packets and we kept offering people gel. And somebody heard us say, "Are you trying to give me your goo?" And that was our reputation the rest of the race. So like,
that's
great.
Awesome. Yeah. I told you about my wife's cousin. So him and his family came here from Germany to visit. They were just visiting the States. They were hopping from state to state, visiting all the relatives, and in the process, seeing all the landmarks and whatnot that they can see. And their first stop was stopping in the Chicago area to visit the family there. And I was doing the race, so he signed up for the race with me. And the entire way, he doesn't speak English very well. He hardly says any words at all. A lot of the times I was on Google Translate with him to he's actually a firefighter back in Germany, which made
Nice.
it very, yeah, he's a really cool guy, fun to talk with when he understands what you're saying. But even when he doesn't understand what you're saying, he still just looks at you and smiles. But
Oh, so
the
he's just a big sweetheart then.
oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah, he was just running the whole race with us. He wouldn't really talk the whole time, but if myself or my buddy would be like, all right, wait, we just need to like power walk for like the next, give us 30 seconds of power walking. And
Yeah.
he caught on real fast. And if we took too long, he'd look at us, and he knew that there was beer at the end. So he would just be like, beer, beer, beer.
Oh, motivational quote of the day. Time for beer.
And so he would just be jumping up and down, and then he'd start running, and it'd be like, okay, we got to go catch up with Sven now.
Nice, dude. That's the guy that I want to run with, because if I'm having a bad day, I know he's happy, and I'll pick up on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, how did you get through the full 30 miles without, I mean, did you had to have had a thought where you're like, why did I sign up for this? But
Funnily enough, with that race, it was so beautiful. I did not have that thought. I just enjoyed every minute of it because I had been training for 6 months to get to that point. There was another race that was really hot a couple of months after that I had that thought, because it was so hot. I got so dehydrated and I just didn't want to be there. But the one up there, mountains were beautiful. You got to go through rivers. Yeah, I loved every minute of that one, man. It was a really cool experience. I got a big belt buckle out of it too. So I don't wear, pants or a belt, but I got a belt buckle.
you don't wear pants, huh?
I wear shorts to work.
Okay, well, there you go. There you go. I just want to clarify that for everybody.
I hate for them to think anything else.
Well, because my son is 3 and he doesn't like to wear pants a lot. Sometimes he'll just run around, and
we have something in common.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So the last time I went through the mountains was, I'm trying to remember when that was. It was probably right around 1999, 2000. We went through the Appalachian Trail. We did a 20-mile hike. That was fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, if you prepare properly for something like that, it just runs itself. And yeah, we have to know how to teach that as trainers for sure. And I've been incredibly lucky that the last 2 years I've had so much interest. We had a group of, I think, 12 go out to the Spartan Beast, and I think it's called Mulberry, Florida. And it's either a farm or a ranch or something out there that is a really good piece of land. Bunch of us got together and we got it done. It was 16 miles on this one. Got it done in about 4 hours because this one was really popular. So if you wanted to wait in line to get water, a lot of people were also wanting to wait in line to get water. So it took us a little bit to get through it all, but it was really cool. It was a good experience, man. We all hung out together.
Yeah, that is actually one of the things that I quickly realized on that race. Even though we weren't competing, nobody really was out to beat anybody per se. I mean, granted, it wasn't the competition, but if you came to an obstacle, or even if you were still running, and if you were struggling and somebody caught you, they would run alongside you and be like, hey, how you doing? Where are you from? And then at the obstacle, if you were having trouble getting up the obstacle, people were trying to help you. I remember there was the giant wall that you had to climb up. They got like the 3 ropes going down, and you're basically climbing. You're basically horizontal going up, right? So yes. It's one of those giant walls, and on the other side, you go down the giant slide into the water. But those ones, you just see people just making giant chain links with their arms, trying to grab people to be like, "You could do it. You could do it."
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it, man. That's teamwork in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah, so, and at the very end, everybody just is like camaraderie.
Yeah, I think that's where most of us fall. We are of the mindset that, look, we're all in this together, right? So I had that experience with the race where I got to the top of something called the A rig. At the very top of it, it's really high up there, and this poor lady and her boyfriend were basically stuck up there because she couldn't get down. And he's trying to convince her. And I don't know, man, what it was that I wanted to help out. But I looked at him. I was like, do you mind if I help out? He goes, dude, please do something. I was like, okay. I was like, hey, can you look at me real quick, right in the eyes? She goes, no, I can't do it. I was like, well, stop looking down. That's your problem. Look right at me. So she looked me in the eyes. I was like, look, you know what your problem is? You're smart. And she just kind of stopped for a second. She was like, what? I was like, look, I work with a lot of people just like you. Your problem is that you're smart and you have a very creative imagination. You're looking at everything way, way below you when all you need to do is look what's right in front of you. Look at that one step that your foot needs to go and take that one step at a time. Eventually you'll find the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. She like, oh, okay. And then she kind of got over it, man, really quick. And she was able to make it down. Her boyfriend gave me a big kind of awkward hug at the end of it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, man, it worked. And that made me really happy. I mean, it helps somebody like that. It's all in the mind, right?
It is. Well, Jason, this has been quite the interview, I must say. It's been really fun talking to you. I've got some food waiting for me downstairs because dinner is ready now.
Awesome.
But yeah, I know, awesome. It's bacon wrapped pork.
All you had to say was bacon. I'm good. I'm ready. Let's go.
Can you get any better than that? Yeah. Anything with bacon, right? But
hey,
what I wanted to do was, I wanted to leave listeners a way to, for instance, if they wanted to get more info on what you do before your product goes live, maybe if somebody's interested in the whole corporate thing, how they could reach out to you.
So reach out to me at practicalhealthandfitness@gmail.com. But we're very soon, like in the next week, deskjockey.fitness. That's going to be the website. But yeah, if you want my email, that's what it is. practicalhealthandfitness@gmail.com.
All right.
Or find me on Facebook at Jason Daniel Lewis, man. I'll friend anybody.
Sounds good, dude. All right. Well, to the rest of you listeners out there, you guys keep setting your goals and you keep at it.